Hi, I'm J.R. Niles, the author of Internet Dating. I hope this thing is picking up my voice okay. I'm going to begin to read the first half of chapter 2. As you can see, I've changed the scenery a bit. In the middle of June, the rural area of land and trees is vast, green, and beautiful. Once again, Lance finds himself traveling in another rent-a-car on another long, endless strip of highway, this time going east along the 80-90 toll road. The scenery is refreshing to him and very seldom seen. This time, the rental is by choice. His black Cadillac, with the same S-gear he experienced before, is parked back at his house. He didn't want to put a lot of miles on his brand new car for this road trip. Lance is accompanied by Melanie Powell, the woman that is his girlfriend one minute and wanting to be chased and begged to re-enter into a relationship the next, if it had ever really ended. They have gone back and forth like this a few times during the past 16 months that they have known each other. Melanie called Lance 1 week after the Sherry meeting, which totaled 3 weeks that they didn't communicate at all. This was the longest and the most extreme display of an attempt to stay away from one another. The phone call regarded something totally insignificant. It was obvious to Lance that her ulterior motive was to reopen the line of communication between them, which would eventually wind up in them hooking up again. By the way, Melanie is the second woman that Lance met on the internet. Their Eastern road trip is his latest attempt to woo her back into relationship mode. He surprised her a week ago when he revealed his plans for them to drive to New York City to see her favorite Tyler Perry movie in a live stage production format. He had actually taken the time out to make her a t-shirt that said on the front, "For my 40th birthday, I will be," and on the back, "taking a road trip to New York City to see my favorite Tyler Perry play." She started to cry when he presented that t-shirt to her. At the time, she did seem genuinely touched by the gesture. At other times, during their on-again, off-again love affair, he wondered if her emotional stability was missing a few slices of bread from the loaf. Driving through Indiana and Ohio was relatively simple, especially since her desire to contribute to the driving was right there along with his. But as night fell upon them, Lance realized that driving through Pennsylvania at this time could be kind of treacherous. Some of the landscape right off the toll road was very up close and personal. With only one lane of highway going east and the same going west, there was not much room for error. As Lance drives further along, the darkness continues to prevail, but the roadway does widen just enough to allow side-of-the-road access in case of a road hazard. "You want to stop somewhere along here, like we discussed?" Lance asks. "Well, it's certainly dark enough around here, that's for sure," Melanie replies. "Okay, I'll stop pretty soon." Lance finds himself paying close attention to the mile markers on the side of the road more than he ever has. This contributes mostly to the long-distance driving that he's not accustomed to. He remembers the last marker was mile 116. He decides to pull over at mile 115, this representing the same street number that he lives on. Lance contemplates not turning the hazard lights on, not wanting to attract attention to their vehicle, given what they are about to do. Then wisely, he takes into consideration how dark it is. Better for the car to be noticed than not in this dark area. Besides, there isn't another car going either way for miles, he thinks to himself. "I've never quite done this before," he modestly admits out loud. Quite, meaning he has had a few sexual encounters in a vehicle with a few women. He recalls a backseat session in which a couple of private parts were touched and grabbed, but no penetration occurred. Another encounter, penetration did occur, but the awkwardness of being in a sports car made that particular incident forgettable. Lance remembers a nice sexual encounter in a front seat, but with a fake prostitute, aka a crackhead posing as a prostitute. So for him, that encounter doesn't count either. Quite. Melanie slips each of her shoes off by the back of the heel with each alternating foot. She then starts to let the butt part of her passenger seat all the way back, and then the back part. Lance looks at her mischievously, wanting sexual pleasure. His mannerism is calm, yet his anticipation is eager, knowing he is about to receive just that. He slides over to her side and tries to get on top of her as best he can in the car's passenger seat. He kisses Melanie like he's in love with her, which he is, very slowly and passionately. He then moves down to her left earlobe and the left side of her neck, then to the front of her neck. By now, Melanie is red hot and ready for the real interaction to take place. Her getting hot so quickly is usually how it goes during their sexual encounters. Even still, Lance always takes the time to participate in a good amount of time of foreplay because that is his technique. He does move a little quicker this time around, being in a car and in the middle of nowhere. Lance tries to take her pants off, but there's not enough room to do so. He moves aside briefly to let Melanie take them off. "Okay, come back on this side and let me get on top," she says. He quickly slips his shoes off and then his pants, then slides back over and under her with a slight chuckle. He grabs the back of her neck with his right hand and starts to kiss her again, this time with more physical enthusiasm. With his left hand, he reaches downward and goes inside her panties. In Lance's mind, the entire area of Melanie's vagina is extremely wet, if not the wettest that he has ever touched in his life. The expression on his face during this moment makes her smile at him. He pulls her panties down quickly, but then struggles to get them past her knees as she still faces him. Once he gets them down past the shin of her legs, he doesn't bother to slip them off her ankles because now his anticipation level is sky high. In Lance's mind, he is already inside of her. Obliviously, he pulls his boxer shorts down and then tries to wiggle his way out of them completely. He is not successful. Melanie chuckles as she slips her panties off her ankles. As Lance removes his shorts with his hand, he chuckles also. In Melanie's mind, the intemperance of Lance's penis is completely inspiring, if not the best that she has ever seen. He teases her with it before he enters her, because this is his technique. Melanie chuckles again, this time a few seconds longer than before. "What, Mel?" 2 months ago, you were probably mad as hell at me when you were dropping off my Christmas tree and stuff in that long white box. Now here you are about to stick that big old thing up in me." She chuckles again. "That's funny, ain't it?" "Yeah, baby, it is kind of funny." Lance penetrates her. He strokes her with the kind of precision that makes every stroke count. Slowly, passionately, lovingly. He puts his mouth and his tongue on her large breast and sucks her nipples furiously. He increases the speed of his stroke. From the moment Lance first kissed Melanie to the increased level of their sexual intensity is indicative of what starts out as the ultimate lovemaking venture, turned into the boisterous animalism of fucking. Within his technique, this is how Lance views it. Melanie is sexually pleased and very receptive of the overall generous display of his enthusiasm and the movement of his hips. She keeps pace with him every step of the way. Suddenly he stops. "Uh-oh, I'm not ready to do that just yet. Let me get on top, Mel." Lance is calm as they change positions in hopes of prolonging the inevitable explosive end to their secret sexual escapade. As their transition is complete, he awkwardly yet authoritatively enters her again. This time, his thrusts are at a much faster pace than before. He can't help it. Again, they are in complete unison. Every time his hips move forward, her torso comes forward. Every time he swings his butt backwards, her butt prepares for the next passionate blow. Within a few moments, the pace in which they gratify one another is so frantic that where they are is forgotten, as well as the awkwardness of it all. Melanie grabs his left butt cheek in anticipation of her climax, surprisingly in this strange missionary position. "Lance, I can feel it. I'm about to come." So am I, baby, so am I. Lance grits his teeth and makes the face of a gladiator in battle. His entire body is now tensed and electrified as he ejaculates deep inside of her, like a warm, massive avalanche. Melanie makes a similar face as she lifts her buttocks completely off the car seat, as if her whole body has been exposed to electric shock. He puts his right hand on the small of her back to pull her closer to him, to feel this moment as one. The finality of their awesome sex explodes simultaneously. As Lance pulls out of her, they smile at one another. They say thank you with their eyes as they wipe the sweat from each other's foreheads. Lance pants. Damn, Melanie. That was good. Yes, it was, Lance. Yes, it was. That will conclude the first half of Chapter 2. I will be finishing up the second half of Chapter 2 probably later on this evening. Inquiries for information regarding my book project, JRNE606@AOL.com. Here is the book cover template. Thank you, and I'll holler at you next time.